And it may even become second nature to you that every day you're presenting an idea to someone, which includes your boss or your boss. Like in my case, as I was admitted to the board of directors on the Sharper Image, then guess who my boss were? The investors. So at every level, we have someone to answer to. Even the CEO, even if you're a board member of a publicly traded company, you have your investors to answer to. So every day you're doing a sales presentation of your results and your ideas. But be prepared, don't shoot from the hip. You will really regret it if you shoot from the hip, right? Yeah, so be very excellent to what you do, going back to my first point that I shared with you.
So the disproportion of Asians and the executive levels, one of the things I was wondering is how important do you feel mentorship is into cultivating Asian leaders? And is there enough of it?
Well, I was lucky. I had, the first CEO who hired me was also my mentor. And I must say I didn't use that opportunity very well. Because, in the nature culture, you have the Confucian background and you tend to, respect your elders, right? Meaning that you don't talk back, you don't say, you always say, okay, maybe I didn't understand what he said, but I'm going to think about it. I should understand it later. And I did not, take advantage of that to ask more questions about, his feedback or what was the things I was doing wrong. And but in some cases also, the mentors don't have the decision power to get you what you have. But they have one thing which is very important, is to tell you what the main thing is. I know you know that movie from City Slickers with Billy Crystal. One point out those city guys who try to be cowboys to get relaxed and so on. And so one night he was talking to a cowboy with big knife in his hand, and he said, "Do you know what the main thing is in life?" And they said, Billy Crystal said, "No, I know what is it." And he holds his big knife and said, "The main thing is to know what the main thing is." And that was kind of weird, but that is true. Sometimes we lose track of what is important. And the mentor is the person who is the mirror, come back to us and say, "Hey, you see all that, it's all noise. The important thing, the headline, the elevator pitch story is this part." And that's what, for me, the mentor has been very useful for.
Are we lacking mentors out there?
Well, I want to mention that too, because as Fact mentioned that our generation in America did not have many Asian mentorships. And now you have many. You can see the movie stars, you have Alan, those guys. You can look and have, Bill, those guys, a great mentor even for me. My story was simple. I, as an engineer, became McDonald's owner in East Oakland. Of course, I thought that everybody in America is like all the engineers I worked with for 20 years. Sure, it was a totally different country. Like, I was in Africa, even worse than that. I didn't know the cultures, so they all called me the Chinaman, doesn't know American at all, or not. So I was the Chinaman alone by myself in East Oakland. And there were shootings and prostitutions and robberies, constant. The police only show up and come. So as an owner manager, I thought I want to be Jackie Chan. I was middle-aged, I didn't have much muscle, I can't run very fast. I know I play basketball, I still can't run faster than local guys. So I said, so I started learning these moves. And when I was in danger, people corner me at a corner, I started looking like this because Jackie Chan, and I run away, But anyway, so I was my mentor, seriously, but for survival. But growing up in the McDonald's world and as a corporation too, by the way, it's not just by myself. So I had to play two roles: free enterprise, corporate survival, corporate advancement. So those taught me a lot of things. So I want to say, mentoring, in my view, is you need to connect somebody emotionally. You can't just take somebody in the picture. And just like Clinton wanted to mentor like Kennedy. He shook hands with Kennedy, was a high school kid. I watched that. I said, Clinton really followed Kennedy because he had an emotional connection with Kennedy. And all the way along, he was. So I would say, mentor probably more important is emotional mental connection you have with that person or persons. And it depends on what you're looking for too, right? If you're looking for wealth, you want to be rich, you find different mentor. You want to be the king of Asian communication. Bill was sitting right here with you. So you want to be an entrepreneur facts right here. But anyway, that's where I learned about mentoring.
Bill, you seem like you believe there's a need for more Asian mentors out there.
Absolutely, and frankly, one message that I think is very important is all of you have an obligation when you become successful in your careers to mentor someone else. And I think the the five people on the stage here, all believe in mentorship. But one thing that's very important is even if you don't find an Asian American mentor, you can have a mentor of any race or ethnicity, and you should seek those people out. And they don't always have to be the most important person in the company. Sometimes it could be a secretary, something could be a close friend. And one thing that you all have to be not afraid to do is say these very simple words: I need help, or I need advice. Because 99.9% of people that you ask are going to say yes. So I very strongly encourage that. I also want to mention my mentor was Latino, because there weren't that many Asian Americans in advertising, and he's not only a mentor today, he's a very close friend today. So it could be of any ethnicity, background, any level.
It's part of networking. And one thing we talked about is that there just isn't enough networking and safety nets for Asian Americans who do rise to the top. You believe that, Tracy? You're kind of at the top? You feel like you're out there blowing in the wind?
Well, there is a lot of truth about it's lonely at the top. And I believe it spans all ethnicities. So that's just part of the C-suite dynamic. But then when you add on the dynamic of being either Asian American or Asian immigrant, there's even fewer support system. Really going back 10 years when we were blazing the trail to build the .com business at the Sharper Image, it was difficult. I mean, literally, I was president at the time and operating the entire company's, at that point, $400 million of business, and there was nobody to talk to. No really role model to go after in my business, in my field. So what happens though is I take a little slightly experience from the mentorship. I begin to look for individual excellence. I'll see someone doing something really well, and it's not necessarily Asian, as Bill said. I said, I want to do that. That's how I want to practice. Whether it's building team relationships, well, one of my, I would say, most prominent influence, he was so good at understanding what is important to each of his direct reports. Some people is a car, some people is playing golf, some people is going travel. To me, it was my family. He had every one of us home. And when he's planning events, he tried to take that into consideration. So in terms of mentorship, maybe one other approach is an alternative way to approach it, is to look for those people that are doing things really well that you like to emulate. Now, sometimes you know them directly, sometimes you don't. Like, one of my most admired speakers is General Colin Powell. So if you go on YouTube and you look for when he was talking about when he endorsed Obama, that was a big scandal, right? Because he's a Republican. So, but when you go look at that YouTube interview, it's only maybe 15 minutes. He was so clear and succinct in delivering the reason why he actually endorsed a different party. So find those people. They may not be accessible to you, but if you look at how they do it, you say, okay, I'm going to practice. I'm going to be half that good or a fraction that good, because if you could be a fraction that good, you are very good already.
Yeah, and it's a great approach to come to them and say, I like your style, I like the way you operate, I want to emulate what you're doing. That always helps get you in the door to begin with.